stones to roll away and stones to leave. John 11:39 tells us that Jesus told them to take away the stone at Lazarus' grave. Then Mark chapter 16, from verse 1 down to 4, we see some women who went to the tomb on the resurrection morning. And while on the way, they said to themselves, "Who shall take away the stone?" Then in verse 4, the Bible says, "And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away already." It says, "For it was very great." So in Lazarus' case, Jesus instructed, "Take the stone away." And then in Jesus' own case, the stone was supernaturally rolled away by an angel. The significance of the stone at Lazarus' grave and the stone at Jesus' grave bears reference with salvation. Secondly, it is the event of a miracle. The first case, which was Lazarus' case, there had to be human participation. Human hands rolled away the stone of Lazarus. Then in Jesus' case, it was divinely rolled away. There was no human involvement, no human participation. And that's the picture of salvation. Now that's one. The second is that event of resurrection for both Lazarus and Jesus was the experience of a miracle. And the first case, Lazarus' case, needed human participation. The second case, Jesus' case, needed no human participation. It brings us to the point of understanding that there are certain miracles that need your involvement. You will have to obey instructions, divine instructions. You have to do your part necessarily. And secondly, there are miracles that do not need your human participation, do not need your effort, your direct involvement. Back to the first case that involves human participation. For the most part, before a miracle will happen, before the Lord will show himself mighty, there's a part to play. Jesus told them, "Take away the stone." And I tell you, if the stone was not taken away, Lazarus will rot there. The resurrection will not occur. The miracle for the family of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus would not happen. In today's world, there are people who are expecting miracles, but they've not done as the Lord has instructed them. They've not done as they ought to do, because the stone has to be rolled away before Lazarus can come forth. There are stones that ought to be rolled away. There are relationships that ought to be rolled away before the person for you can come. Before the correct business partner can come. Before the marriage partner can come. Before the right friends can come around. There are relationships that need to be rolled away. And God will not necessarily do that for you, except it is beyond you, and you surrender to him in that respect. But there are some relationships that you need to walk away from before the miracle of the right person can come. Also, there are habits that you need to walk away from. Some of those habits are inspired by places you go to. Some of those habits are inspired by the kind of business you are involved in. There are habits that must be rolled away before a new day can come for you, before the miracle you're expecting can happen for you. These things will not be done for you. They are instructed by God to you, and you have to do them before God can play his part. Then, to the last thing, there are stones that God rolls away by himself. And this happens, if you allow me to say, after you have submitted to him. Because Jesus submitted to the will of God. He submitted to the will of God and laid down his life. At that point of total surrender, the Lord takes up the responsibility. And in this case, you do not need to do a thing any longer. You've surrendered to God on the matter. God now takes the center stage and perfects the case and does the miracle and surpasses the expectation of your faith.